Our first reading today begins by saying, "Beloved, we are God's children now. What we shall be has not yet been revealed." Beloved, we are God's children now. All the students here, we call you children. And the reason that we call you children is because you're still growing, right? You're still growing physically. You're still growing mentally. You're still growing spiritually. My niece, she's now in, I got to think, 7th grade. I get mixed up. Whenever she comes into my house, at least once a year, down in the basement, we have a wall, and we mark how tall she is. And I'm sure some of you have done that. It's kind of neat to see over the years the growth that she has had over the years. So in our journey of life, we continue to grow. So even for the adults here, we are still children in the eyes of God, in the sense that we continue to grow. We never stop growing. We are all growing each and every day, physically, mentally, spiritually. And so for our graduates, this is the completion of one step of your growth. Do you remember when you were in kindergarten? That seems like so long ago, right? And you were probably about this big, right? And so you've grown a lot since then, but you've also grown not just physically, but think about, just learning to read, right? or learning to do those math problems, or learning about science, or whatever it might be. You grew, and especially growing in the area of God, in your spiritual life, and recognizing that you continue to grow. What the reading goes on to say is not only are we children of God, but what we shall be has not yet been revealed. So when you were in kindergarten, or in 1st grade, or 2nd grade, or 3rd grade, I'm sure it was hard to imagine what it's going to be like to be an 8th grader. And so for all of you who are in the younger grades, someday you're going to be here, right? But it's hard to understand, it's hard to comprehend something that seems to be so far away. What we shall be has not yet been revealed. So for all of you, you know where you're going to high school, I hope. So that's going to be something new for new growth. But then your growth doesn't stop there. You get through 4 years of high school, then you have to go off to college. Or you go off and get a job. And so you recognize that it's continually growing. And even after you go through college and you get a job, you never stop learning. You always continue to grow in your life. And my hope is that you continue to grow even spiritually throughout your life. Growth is a process. Every day when I drive into work, I drive past an apple orchard. And all winter long, it looked like all the apple trees were dead. Right? They just look sad, barren. And then now this spring, what's happening? All the flowers are coming onto them. And it's like, wow, they're beautiful. And then, if they get pollinated, they're going to become apples on that tree. Right? It's a process of growth. And that process of growth helps us then to bear much fruit, is what the gospel tells us today. The gospel reminds us that we are to grow and to bear much fruit. Jesus says, "I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever remains in me and I in him will bear much fruit." So one of the things we have to remember in our pattern of growth, in our process of growth throughout our life, is we have to stay connected to God. We have to stay connected to Jesus. And that's what Jesus is talking about in this gospel reading today. That he is the vine, we are the branches. They work together. If I was to go to that apple orchard and start cutting off all the flowers on there, then they would all die, right? There'd be no fruit at all. They wouldn't be connected to the tree. Well, the same is true in our faith, in our life. You have to be connected to Jesus. We have to be connected to our God in all aspects of our life as we continue to grow. So how do we do that? How do we stay connected to God? Well, Jesus gives us the answer in the gospel here. He gives us what seems to be really a simple answer That's probably one of the hardest things to do. Love one another as I have loved you. Sounds simple, right? But let me tell you how much Jesus loves you. Well, let me ask you, does Jesus love you this much? No. Does he love you this much? No. You know how much he loves you? He loves you this much, right? Way back there, the crucifix. He died on the cross for us. That's how much he loves us, as he sacrificed his life for us. And so what Jesus is asking of us, if we're going to continue to grow in our faith, continue to grow as human beings, there are times when we need to sacrifice. There are times when we need to willingly lay down our life. Doesn't mean physically lay down our life, but it means to sacrifice doing something. That I'm going to go help somebody else. That I'm going to go make a difference in the world. And so Jesus lays out that command for us. Love one another as I have loved you. So today, we recognize that we are called to live that out in our lives. For all of you graduates, you've been trying to live that out throughout, you've been here 10 years, a long time, right? And you've learned a lot in those years, right? You think about all the different subjects you studied, all the different classes you had, all the different teachers you had. But my hope is that the one thing that you remember the most is what Jesus just commanded us. Love one another as I have loved you. If you do that, if you love one another as I have loved you, as Jesus has loved us, if you do that, you will find great success in life. You will find great joy in life. You will find great happiness in life. Because it's not always about me. It's about how do I love one another. And how do I do it by staying connected